As fate would have it, I was transmigrated into a romance novel. And just like they say online, in the world of romance novels, even a god would get slapped around. A divorce could strip a king of half his power. This unique universal law struck a sliver of fear into me. Fortunately, I had a plan. I would transform the tragic male lead into the arch-villain. This wasn't a tragedy anymore. It was a power trip. The plot had progressed to the point where my wife's old flame returns to the country. By chance, I picked up my wife's phone instead of mine, and I saw the social media feed she'd blocked me from. The picture was a photo of her with her old flame, Ethan Dawson. The caption read, "Welcome back, hope you didn't mind me treating you today." Someone had commented, well, Victoria. "On a date with Ethan, are we?" Victoria Ainsworth had replied with a grinning emoji. "Grin my ass, go on, grin, you bitch," I cursed silently. Curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on the profile and, like a man seeking pain, scrolled through post after post she had hidden from me. A fire ignited in my gut, a hot rage spreading through my veins. Even though I was just a transmigrator, right now, I was the poor bastard himself. That green hat was sitting right on my head, shining for all the world to see. Gritting my teeth, I opened their private chat window. Thankfully, it was just flirtatious, nothing explicit. Just then, the lock on the bathroom door clicked. I took a deep breath and placed the phone back where I found it. My fingertips were still trembling, whether from fury or the sheer absurdity of it all, I couldn't tell. "Hubby, come over here and blow dry my hair." Victoria, wrapped in a sexy black nightgown, emerged from the bathroom, shaking her head. I stared, mesmerized by her exquisite figure. I couldn't help but swallow hard. Those legs looked longer than my lifespan. I wanted to. Victoria's brow furrowed in disgust as she fell back into her habit of ordering me around. "Hurry up, hubby. I'm tired. Come dry my hair so I can go to sleep." How dare this wretched woman order me around? On what grounds? Fine, if that's how she wanted to play it, I wouldn't hold back. Of course I scurried over enthusiastically. I gave her rear a firm slap. The feeling was electric. "Ah, what are you doing?" A wicked grin spread across my face. "What do you think?" Victoria gasped and spun around. Her wet hair whipped across my face, carrying the cool scent of rose shampoo. "Have you lost your mind?" Her wide eyes were filled with disbelief. In 3 years of marriage, this was the first time I had ever been so forward with her. My grip on the hairdryer tightened, the unholy fire in my chest burning hotter. "We're getting divorced anyway. Might as well collect some interest for the original schmuck." I wrapped my arm around her waist and captured her lips. "Just a bit of husband and wife fun," I murmured, deliberately brushing my thumb over a water droplet on her collarbone. As I expected, the tips of her ears turned a suspicious shade of red. In the original novel, this Ice Queen heroine had always used busy with work as an excuse to avoid intimacy after marriage. Thinking about it now, she was probably trying to keep herself pure for her old flame. As expected of a protagonist, his physical stamina was exceptional. I drove her hard all night long. We put the pedal to the metal from dusk till dawn. I polished her headlights until they gleamed. After a good waxing, I couldn't keep my hands off. Looking at this beloved car that would soon no longer be mine, I couldn't resist taking her for one more spin. Amidst the roar of the engine, Victoria cried out in a hoarse voice that the speed was too fast, too thrilling. Tears still clung to the corners of her eyes. When my fingers threaded through her hair, I could feel her trembling slightly. Interesting. So even the untouchable Ice Queen could feel fear. The joyride was over. Hark! Kill the engine. The room was suddenly so quiet you could hear her racing heartbeat. As the morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, Victoria had her back to me, fastening her bra. The imprint of my fingers was still visible on the small of her back, like cinnabar on rice paper. "I'm going to an alumni party tonight," she said suddenly, her voice lighter than the chirping of sparrows outside. I feigned ignorance, stretching lazily. What was that? When she turned around, her usual haughty expression was back in place. She tapped her long, red nails on the vanity. "My college reunion is tonight. I won't be home for dinner." In the original story, this conversation was supposed to have happened last night. Tonight, Victoria would go to the party. Then, fueled by alcohol, she and her former classmates would play a game of truth or dare. The original protagonist, worried about her drinking, would show up at the club early to take her home. He would open the door at the exact moment she and Ethan were locked in a kiss. "It's on my way. I'll drop you off after work." Victoria's hand, applying lipstick, froze. In the mirror, a flash of panic crossed her eyes. No need, Vivian West is picking me up. I glanced at the silk nightgown on the floor torn to shreds. I nodded. All right, be safe tonight and don't drink too much. That evening, I arrived outside the private room at the club right on time. My 2 bodyguards from the Blackwood security detail positioned themselves on either side of the door. A waiter approached. Good evening, sir. The guests in this room have requested not to be disturbed. I gave him a cold look and said softly, My wife is in there. Does that rule still apply? The waiter froze, clearly sensing the aura of authority around me. He swallowed hard. I apologize, sir, but perhaps you could contact your wife and have her come out to get you. I pulled $500 from my pocket and said flatly, Get lost. The waiter's eyes darted to the cash, and he snatched it quickly. Right away, sir, I'll get lost immediately. You have a good evening. As he walked away, I heard him muttering, Rich people and their quirks. With bodyguards like that, he could have just kicked the door in. Not like I could have stopped him, damn it. I felt like he'd played me for a fool. The moment I pushed the door open, I was hit by a wall of deafening music. My face was a blank mask as I scanned the room. The lighting was dim, but I spotted Victoria instantly. She was wearing a white power suit, and my favorite, black stockings. Ethan Dawson was sitting beside her, one arm draped casually over her shoulder. They were close, whispering and laughing together in the dim light. I pulled out my phone and started recording, taking a few close-up shots for good measure. The moment the flash went off, the entire room fell silent. Then, a voice piped up. Hey, no flash photography, keep the scandals private. Victoria recoiled from Ethan as if electrocuted. Her wide eyes reflected the image of me, phone held high, sincere. I calmly put my phone away, my leather shoes crunching on the confetti-strewn floor. Haha, my apologies, everyone. Didn't mean to interrupt the fun. Please continue, don't mind me. I'm just here to pick up Victoria. Looks like I'm a bit early. An awkward silence descended upon the room, broken only when Ethan suddenly burst out laughing. He stood up, swirling a glass of red wine, his tie hanging loosely around his neck. So you're Victoria's husband, huh? Why don't you join us for a game of truth or dare? I'd love to, I smirked, unbuttoning my suit jacket and sitting down. I picked up the dice cup as everyone stared in disbelief. But I should warn you, I'm a sore loser. Don't blame me if I spoil the mood. The rattling of the dice on the felt table was grating. Ethan slid a glass of hard liquor towards me challengingly. Loser either drinks or answers a question. I saw Victoria tugging on his sleeve under the table and smiled, pushing the glass back. Drinking is boring. Answering questions is much more interesting. The room erupted in jeers and catcalls. Victoria lost the very first round. Vivian West, always one to stir the pot, asked, If Ethan had never gone abroad, would you have married him? The light from the crystal chandelier danced on Victoria's eyelashes. She hesitated for a moment, glancing at me, then at Ethan. Yes, the room exploded. Everyone looked at me with malicious glee, expecting me to storm out in a rage. After all, that was my persona until now, the man who loved Victoria with a pathetic devotion. I would silently swallow any humiliation. And then, when she came home and offered a few token words of comfort, I'd go right back to fawning all over her like a lost puppy. Even though my vibe was different today, that's what they still expected. Such a loyal, shameless pair. Tell me, don't you all think I should just step aside and let them be happy? I said, swirling the ice in my glass and watching them with a playful smirk. As soon as the words left my mouth, the boisterous room went dead silent. Everyone stared at me, then at Victoria, in utter disbelief. Victoria, who had been slightly tipsy, sobered up instantly and shot to her feet. She knocked over her wine glass, the red liquid spreading like a bloodstain across the table. Her eyes were wide with shock, stunned by my words. How could I dare speak like that, especially after she'd let me drive her so hard all last night? Vivian quickly stood up to smooth things over. Sincere, it's just a game. Don't take it so seriously. Victoria was just joking. You know how she gets when she drinks. Besides, everyone knows you're the one she loves. Now, apologize to her, or you might find yourself sleeping on the couch tonight. Ethan stood up too. Come on, Sincere, don't be so small-minded. Victoria was just kidding. It was just a joke, so don't be angry. Victoria and I are ancient history. I just got back, so she was just teasing me to make me feel welcome. I chuckled, tapping my knuckles on the marble tabletop. All right, I can take a joke. Everyone knows you two were an item back in school. You could say I owe my marriage to you going abroad, Ethan. Otherwise, Victoria's first time wouldn't have been with me, right? The dice cup in Ethan's hand slammed onto the table, splashing wine onto his expensive shirt. He shot me a venomous look before retorting provocatively, I'm glad you know your place. But I'm back now. The air in the room froze. Victoria's face went pale. I slowly unfastened my cufflinks and in front of everyone smashed a wine bottle over Ethan's head. The sound of shattering glass was like a pause button. Only when a mixture of wine and blood began to trickle down Ethan's forehead did the screams finally erupt. Sincere, are you insane? Victoria lunged at me, her nails digging into my arm. I shook her off, my voice calm. I'm just collecting a little interest. This bastard comes back and immediately starts hitting on my wife. Does he really think I'm a pushover? Victoria's expression turned ugly. Sincere, what the hell are you talking about? She shrieked, pointing an accusing finger at me. There is nothing going on between me and Ethan. How dare you slander? Watching Ethan being helped to his feet, I wiped my face and sent him sprawling again with a swift kick. Nothing going on? I slapped Victoria across the face. You post things on your feed and block me from seeing them, and you have the nerve to say there's nothing going on? You had the guts to post those lovey-dovey pictures, so why don't you have the guts to admit it? Victoria stumbled back, clutching her cheek, her high heels making a sickening crunch on the broken glass. Sincere, you actually hit me? She screamed, her eyes red and welling with tears. You're going to get on your knees and apologize to me right this instant. Then you're going to apologize to Ethan. If you don't, I'm calling the police and you'll be finished apologize? What a fucking joke. If it weren't for the thought of splitting my assets, I'd have divorced her on the spot. You want to call the police? Go ahead, make the call right now. I straightened my tie and opened the door to the room. My 2 bodyguards stepped inside. I pointed arrogantly at the stunned partygoers. Does anyone here know how to take a hint? Anyone who took photos or videos just now, delete them. All of them. Don't make me get nasty. The Blackwood family of Lingnan is not to be trifled with. Then I turned back to Victoria. Call the cops. Go on. I'd like to see who dares to meddle in the Blackwood family's affairs. A rush of satisfaction washed over me. This wasn't the male lead. This was the arch-villain. The room was deathly silent, everyone frozen by my display of dominance. The phone in Victoria's hand trembled. Her red-polished fingertips swiped across the screen several times, but she couldn't manage to unlock it. What's the matter? Can't bring yourself to do it? I sneered, pulling my own phone from my suit pocket. Shall I do it for you? Sincere Victoria screamed and lunged for my phone. Are you crazy? Do you have to make such an ugly scene? I easily sidestepped her, grabbing her wrist. Ugly? I whispered in her ear, my voice low enough for only her to hear. You didn't think it was ugly when you told a room full of people you wished you'd married another man? We were intimate just last night. Are you already that eager to replace me? Victoria's pupils constricted. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. She had never seen this side of me before, and I was a terrifying stranger to her. Ethan struggled to his feet, blood still seeping from the gash on his forehead. He staggered towards us, trying to pull us apart. Sincere, let her go if you have a problem. Take it out on me. Well. You all heard him. He said to take it out on him. That's the most outrageous request I've ever heard. I flicked my hand, and my 2 bodyguards immediately seized Ethan. They started trading blows, one punch after another. No, stop it, I told you to stop. Sincere, let Ethan go. Please, I'm begging you, let him go. Victoria's face was a tear-streaked mess as she clawed at my arm. Does it hurt to watch? I gripped her chin, forcing her to look at me. When we were racing all night last night, were you secretly thinking of your precious old flame? My words exploded in the room like a bomb. A few of the women even blushed and covered their mouths. Victoria's face flushed crimson, and fat tears rolled down her cheeks. Sincere? You bastard, I'm the bastard? I released her and calmly adjusted my cuffs. Victoria, have you forgotten who cooked for you every night, waiting for you to come home? Who stayed up all night taking care of you when you had a fever? With each sentence, I took a step forward, and she instinctively backed away until her back was against the wall. And now that your old flame is back, you can't wait to throw yourself into his arms? I reached out and wiped a tear from her cheek, but my voice was as cold as ice. Victoria, you disgust me. Victoria's lips trembled, her makeup ruined by tears. I wasn't. You weren't what? You didn't deliberately block me from your feed? You weren't deliberately cozying up to Ethan at this reunion? I shook my head. Victoria, I gave you a chance. I really didn't. We're just normal friends now. I only blocked you from my feed because I didn't want you to get the wrong idea." Victoria shook her head frantically. The door to the room was suddenly thrown open, and the club manager burst in with security guards. "What's going on here? Who's causing trouble?" The manager's eyes swept the room and landed on me. "Sir, if you would please get out," I said without turning my head. The manager's face hardened, but before he could say another word, one of my bodyguards stepped forward and flashed his credentials. The manager's face went white. He bowed repeatedly and backed out of the room, pulling the door shut behind him. Silence returned, broken only by Victoria's suppressed sobs. I took out a cigarette case and leisurely lit one up. Through the haze of smoke, the sight of Ethan groaning on the floor was particularly comical. "Sincere." Victoria suddenly grabbed the corner of my jacket. "Can we please go home and talk about this?" I flicked my ash and suddenly laughed. "Go home? Sure. My place or Ethan's?" Victoria's nails dug into my arm, her voice thick with tears. "Sincere, do you have to humiliate me like this?" I shook her hand off and crushed the cigarette butt in Ethan's wine glass. "Humiliate you? Victoria, are you even worthy of it?" Everyone in the room held their breath. Vivian started to step forward to intervene but was frozen in place by my glare. "Starting today, you're moving out of the master bedroom." I took out my phone and dialed my lawyer in front of everyone. "Mr. Davis, prepare the divorce papers." Victoria lunged at me, trying to snatch the phone. "No, I don't agree to a divorce." I easily restrained her, whispering in her ear, "Did you really think I'd want a woman whose heart belongs to someone else?" Ethan struggled up from the floor, his face a bloody mess, and roared. Sincere let her go. He was definitely trying to play the hero for Victoria, to cement his image as the good guy. I sneered and signaled for my men to release him. "Ethan, you're so eager to pick up my cast-offs? Fine, she's all yours." Victoria, trembling all over, raised her hand to slap me. I caught her wrist and slapped her across the face instead. She deflated like a popped balloon, collapsing to the floor in a heap of loud sobs. I straightened my suit and walked towards the door without a backward glance. Sincere, Victoria screamed from behind me. "You'll regret this." I stopped, turned, and gave her a cruel smile. "Right. I forgot to tell you. If I don't see you home tonight, I'll go after your family." I looked at the others. "And you lot. Every single one of you. If a word of what happened here tonight gets out, you'll all regret it." Then I walked out, not looking back. The moment the door closed, it shut out the sound of her cries. "Who the hell does he think he is, eyeing my wife?" I said, drying my hands as I walked out of the restroom. One of my bodyguards spoke up. "Mr. Blackwood, should we have someone take care of that Dawson fellow?" "No, let's not. I'm not a monster after all." I paused, then continued. "Have Mitch Scarface Malone send him to Thailand, arrange for him to become a beautiful young woman." At 3 in the morning, the door to the master bedroom creaked open. Victoria stood barefoot in the doorway. She was still wearing the suit from the reunion, though her black stockings now had several runs in them. "Hubby." Her voice was impossibly hoarse. "We need to talk." I didn't turn on the light. The moonlight stretched her shadow long across the floor. She slowly shuffled to the side of the bed and suddenly knelt, wrapping her arms around my legs. I knew what had happened. After I left, Victoria had taken Ethan to the hospital. After a long wait for the examination, she had rushed back. Before she left, Ethan had tried to hug her, but after the night's events, Victoria had flatly rejected him. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Her tears soaked through my pajama pants, the warm dampness reminding me of how she'd been beneath me last night. I lifted her chin and saw that the red mark from my slap was still visible on her right cheek. "Did Ethan bring you home?" Her body went rigid. Then she shook her head frantically. "I took a cab by myself." She suddenly lunged at me, tearing at my clothes, her warm lips pressing randomly against my bare skin. I pinned her wrists to the headboard, and she willingly, "So pathetic, aren't you?" I squeezed the soft flesh of her thigh. "Willing to die for your old flame during the day, then crawling back to me to act like a slut at night?" Victoria whimpered and writhed, 2 buttons on her suit popping open. The next morning at the breakfast table, Victoria, for the first time ever, had cooked me porridge. "Hubby, my dad's birthday is next week." She watched my expression carefully. "Could you come with me?" I stirred the porridge in my bowl and smiled. "We're getting a divorce." "Why would I go?" Victoria's spoon clattered into her bowl, splashing milk onto her new beige loungewear. "Divorce? Hubby, Let's not get a divorce, okay? I put down my spoon and slowly wiped my mouth with a napkin. Victoria's fingers were twisted together so tightly her knuckles were white. No divorce? I chuckled. You want me to walk around wearing a green hat? Victoria's head snapped up, her lips trembling. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't cuckold you. Bullshit. I slammed my hand on the table. You had an emotional affair. How is that not cheating? Do you think there's a difference between a dark green hat and a light green one? The color drained from her face. I stood up, walked behind her, and leaned in to whisper in her ear, I want to divorce you, but I don't want to give you any of my money. You know what you have to do, right? If you agree to my terms, the business dealings between the Blackwood family and the Ainsworth family can continue as normal. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Victoria's eyelashes fluttered violently. Sincere, she suddenly turned and threw her arms around my waist. I swear I'll never see Ethan again. I'll block him on everything. I pried her fingers off, chuckling softly in her ear. Too late. The phone on the table suddenly vibrated, the screen lighting up with Ethan's name. Victoria lunged for it as if it were red hot and silenced it, but not before I saw the dozen unread messages on her lock screen. Looks like your old flame is getting anxious, doesn't it? Victoria's phone fell from her hand, landing softly on the carpet. As she knelt to pick it up, I stepped on it. Hubby, she looked up at me, tears clinging to her eyelashes. Let me explain. I bent down, picked up the phone, and unlocked it with her fingerprint, swiping open her messages. Ethan's last message was right there, Vicky. I'm not feeling well. Could you come over and check on me? I raised an eyebrow at Victoria. Well, your old flame isn't feeling well. Openly asking another man's wife to come for a private visit. I tossed the phone back to her and turned towards the walk-in closet. I heard her frantic footsteps behind me. I'll block him right now. She fumbled with her phone, her nails making a scratching sound on the screen. I calmly tied my tie, watching her trembling back in the mirror. Too late. Those two words made her shoulders flinch. Sincere. She rushed over and hugged me from behind, her tears soaking through my shirt. I know I was wrong. Please, just give me one more chance. I turned, gripped her chin, and forced her to look at me. A chance? I sneered. Victoria, do you know what I find most disgusting? It's this two-faced hypocrisy of yours, wanting to have it all. Her pupils contracted violently, tears streaming down her cheeks. I let her go and took a file from a drawer, tossing it onto the bed. Sign it. Let's have a clean break. Victoria's hands trembled as she opened the file. When she saw the words relinquishing all marital assets, she looked up sharply. You really expect me to walk away with nothing? What else? I fastened my cufflinks. You want me to give you half of my fortune? She clutched the document, her knuckles white. These 3 years, did they mean nothing to you? I walked over to her and leaned in, my voice a soft whisper. Oh, they did. You're beautiful and your body is perfect. To be honest, I'll miss that. But unfortunately, you're flawed now. Victoria suddenly snatched the divorce papers and tore them to shreds. The pieces fluttered down between us like snowflakes. Sincere, you can forget it, she shrieked, her eyes red as she lunged for my tie. After 3 years of marriage, what do you think I am? A toy you can just throw away? I let her pull and tear at me until she collapsed onto the floor, exhausted. So what do you want? I crouched down to meet her gaze. To continue being Mrs. Blackwood while secretly pining for your old flame? Her nails scraped white lines on the floorboards. I can sign a fidelity clause. She grabbed my wrist. If I ever contact Ethan again, I'll leave with nothing. I couldn't help but laugh, my thumb wiping away her smudged eyeliner. Victoria, when did you become so pathetic? Her body stiffened, but she held on to me stubbornly. Because I've realized... Her voice grew quieter. I think I've actually fallen in love with you. The words made me pause in the middle of tying my tie. In the original novel, Victoria never once told the protagonist she loved him, not even up to the divorce. Oh, I drawled. And what about Ethan? She let go of me as if burned, her eyes darting away. That was just a youthful obsession. I fastened the last button of my suit and turned to leave. You have 3 days to think about it. Either sign the papers or... I looked back at her. I'll make the Ainsworth family disappear from the business world. In the company conference room, I was reviewing the quarterly reports. My secretary knocked and entered. Mr. Blackwood, your wife is here." "Let her wait," I said without looking up. The figure outside the glass door paced for half an hour before I signaled for her to be let in. Victoria was wearing a simple white dress today, her hair falling softly over her shoulders. She looked like a completely different person from her usual vibrant self. "Hubby," she placed an insulated container on the table. "I made you some soup." I closed the file and studied her swollen eyelids. "Have you made up your mind?" She bit her lip and nodded, pulling the signed agreement from her bag. "I've signed it, but I have one condition." I raised an eyebrow, motioning for her to continue. "Don't make me leave." Her fingers clutched the fabric of her dress. "I love you. Just let me stay by your side. It doesn't matter if I don't have the title." I stared at her trembling eyelashes for a long moment, then burst out laughing. "Victoria, you don't actually think that's touching, do you?" Steam was still rising from the soup container, full of goji berries floating in the milky broth. Just like her wavering heart, her head shot up. "I'm serious." I slowly spun my pen, tapping the tip on the divorce agreement. "Do you know what you look like right now? Like a dog that's been kicked by its master and still comes back, wagging its tail and begging for scraps." The blood drained from her face. The floor-to-ceiling window reflected her swaying, fragile figure. I stood up, walked over to her, and suddenly ripped open the collar of her dress. "You say you love me with your mouth, but here," my finger pressed hard on a fading bruise. "Were you thinking of Ethan last night?" No, her eyes were glistening, looking at me with a watery gaze. My mind was filled with you." As she spoke, her hands began to unbuckle my belt. The sun was high in the sky. It was well past noon, and I was famished. I drank the goji berry soup that Victoria fed me mouth to mouth. In the end, I agreed to her request. After all, her beauty was simply too hard to resist. A month later, 4 of my bodyguards brought Ethan Dawson, fresh from his studies in Thailand, to see me. Oh wait, I should call her Luna Dawson now. Luna, who had always been handsome as a man, was now surprisingly graceful and slender. She bared her teeth, her face a mask of fury. "Sincere, you animal." Luna's voice was now high and sharp, but the hatred in it was undiminished. I leaned back leisurely on the leather sofa, enjoying the sight of her rage. "What? Not satisfied with the new career I've arranged for you?" I pointed to the modeling contract on the table. $50,000 a month. Much better than your old job as a junior manager." Luna trembled with rage, her freshly manicured nails digging into her palms. "I'm going to sue you. I'm going to have you thrown in jail." I laughed and motioned for a bodyguard to hand her a business card. "That's my lawyer's number. Feel free to give it a try if you want to play hardball. But if you lose, I'll have to give you a little punishment, you see." The color drained from Luna's face. Satisfied, I sat up and adjusted my cuffs. "Be a good little model and stop bothering me." Luna collapsed to the floor as if her bones had been removed. I waved my hand, and the bodyguards dragged her out. When I got home that evening, Victoria was busy in the kitchen. Since the incident, she had quit her job to become a full-time housewife. "Hubby, you're home." She ran over, apron still on, and stood on her toes to kiss my cheek. I pinched her cheek. "Being extra good today?" She blushed and looked down. I made an appointment with a therapist." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I want to," she twisted her fingers, "save our marriage." I stared at her for a few seconds, then smiled. "Come here, I have something to show you." I took out my phone and showed her the pictures of Luna Dawson. On the screen, the former campus heartthrob had been transformed into a stunning beauty. Victoria's eyes widened, and the spatula in her hand clattered to the floor. Is that your old flame?" I lifted her chin. "Does it hurt to see?" Her eyelashes fluttered wildly, but she shook her head. He deserved it." Her answer pleased me. I stroked her swollen lips as a reward. Good girl. That night, Victoria was exceptionally docile. She wore the black lace lingerie I'd picked out for her and knelt by the bed, drying my hair. As a drop of water trickled down my abs, her breathing became noticeably uneven. "Hubby," she leaned close to my ear. "Let's have a baby." My hand paused. In the original story, she had been adamant about not having children, afraid a baby would tie her down. "What's this?" I pulled her onto my lap by her waist. "Trying to use a baby to save your marriage?" She wrapped her arms around my neck, her soft chest pressing against me. I want to give you a baby that looks just like you." The moonlight cast dappled shadows on her face. I suddenly remembered the miscarried child from the original novel. "All right," I said with a smile, untying the sash of her lingerie. "But first, I need to check if you're—" My fingers trailed down maliciously. "Clean." Her body went rigid for a second, then she pressed against me even more fervently. "I've only ever been with you. Only ever you." Victoria's medical report lay on my desk. All indicators showed she was in excellent health. When I flipped to the last page, I saw she had secretly drawn a small heart on the back. This woman was getting better and better at this. "Hubby," she sidled into the study with a fruit platter, holding a piece of cantaloupe to my lips. "Our wedding anniversary is this weekend. What kind of gift would you like?" I bit into the fruit and pulled her onto my lap. "You decide." Twirling a lock of her hair around my finger, I asked teasingly, "Why so attentive? Are you horny again?" Her ears turned bright red, but she still tried to deny it. "Of course not, I cut her off by pressing her down onto the desk. Pens and documents scattered to the floor. Luna Dawson still hadn't learned her lesson. She wanted revenge. Unfortunately, she overestimated her own abilities and underestimated the behemoth that was the Blackwood family. She recorded a video, listing a mountain of evidence, but before she could get very far in her tearful exposé of my evil deeds, the video was scrubbed from the entire internet. Though it had generated some buzz, public attention was quickly redirected. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with news of a famous actress having a child out of wedlock and a famous actor sleeping with his fans. The netizens were thrilled with the new drama. Since Luna had made her move, I had to keep my word. That very night she was taken to a villa in the suburbs. I had arranged for 3 large black gentlemen to give her a warm welcome. When Victoria found out, her face was filled with alarm. "Hubby, isn't that too cruel?" I smiled and pinched her cheek. "Cruel? A mere 3 men is just a small punishment." I raised an eyebrow. "You don't feel sorry for her, do you?" She smiled, her eyes shining like stars. "She brought it on herself. She's the one who insisted on opposing you. She deserves it. That was unexpected. In the original story, she had tormented the male lead for the sake of her old flame." I grabbed her wrist and pulled her into my arms. "Such a good girl." She settled onto my lap, tracing circles on my collar with her finger. "I figured it out. Old flames, passionate affairs." Her red lips brushed against my earlobe. "None of it compares to the man right in front of me." The candlelight cast fan-shaped shadows from her eyelashes. I suddenly remembered the ending of the original novel. After the protagonist finally let her go, she was consumed by regret and began a desperate, hopeless quest to win him back. I threaded my fingers through her hair and asked deliberately, "What if Ethan Dawson came back for you now?" She froze for a second. Then she cupped my face in her hands. "Sincere, listen to me. The scent of roses washed over me. For the past month, I've woken up every day terrified that you would suddenly leave me." Her tears fell onto the back of my hand, scalding hot. It wasn't until I saw what became of him that I understood. Her nails dug into my shoulders. "How merciful you've been to me." I gripped her hips and pulled her closer. "Prove it to me." Victoria's method of proof was something I never expected. The next morning, she dragged her aching body out of bed and spent 2 hours in the kitchen. My bodyguard called. Luna Dawson had been making a scene about killing herself all morning, but she didn't have the courage to go through with it and eventually climbed back in from the balcony. "Tell her I don't want a repeat performance, and give her $1 million. Consider it compensation." Just then, Victoria emerged from the kitchen with breakfast. She sat down beside me, beaming. "Hubby, try this, see if my cooking has improved." I took a savory omelet she offered. It was thoughtfully stuffed with goji berries. It's delicious." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" "Really," I said, pinching her cheek. "Except for when you're thinking about your old flame." She stomped her foot in frustration. "I told you I stopped." I silenced her with a kiss. She suddenly threw her arms around me. "Hubby, I know I was wrong. I regret it." "Regret what?" I asked in a low voice. "I regret not realizing sooner," she looked up at me, "that I had already fallen in love with you. If I had realized it earlier, I can't even imagine how happy we would have been. Hubby, can we get married again? Please?" I held Victoria's chin, studying her red-rimmed eyes. "Get married again?" I chuckled. "Do you deserve it?" Her eyelashes trembled violently, like a butterfly caught in the rain. I know I don't deserve it." She clutched my shirt, her knuckles white. "But I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." I let her go and took a sip of my coffee. It was too sweet, cloying just like her. "Hubby," she sidled up to me again, her soft chest pressing against my arm. "The biggest regret of my life, Victoria Ainsworth's life, was almost losing you." I held her chin, studying her. "Nice acting. It's not an act." She stomped her foot. I swear every word as I cut her off with another kiss, my fingers sliding under the hem of her nightgown. This time, she cried harder than ever before.